Well, I still think Khorne is the Monogod's faction most in need of total overhaul or a full DLC. Slaanesh also could use some help, although to be honest, I think Slaanesh's balance would be significantly helped if they were to just make some tweaks, even to something like Hellstriders, maybe make them a little bit more usable again. I mean, I think they're still decent in Domination. I have no idea, to be honest. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comments below, those of you who play it. But yeah, in general, Slaanesh, they have some tough times with some certain things, but the buff to demonic leadership and especially to furies does help. Of course, their furies deal armor piercing damage, so getting an extra bunch of models and extra leadership definitely helps them perform a little bit better. Koops here, the Slaanesh player, coming in hot with a Herald, nice and cheap with Flash of Slaanesh, Acquiescence, and the Portal Glyph, very nice stuff. The 3 Furies and then some Chaos Knights, got some Warriors, and Chosen through the center. For Yumeis, this is actually not Rider of Rohan, although he's doing his best Rider of Rohan impression. Got some Swordmasters, Dragon Princes, and Silver Helms, along with Lyrian Reavers, Archmage on an Eagle of Shadows. Very interesting choice, and another Eagle. I'm loving Shadows right now, to be honest. Also, as we get things rolling here, they're going to start doing some skirmishing, little cheeky charges. I did officially announce South Sea Mercenary League 2024. There's over $1,000 in prizes at stake, so be sure to check my community tab or my Discord down in the link below for details there. Yeah, there's going to be a giant Land Battles with Caps tournament, basically, coming up in June. Yumeis is one of the makers of that mod, which is why I chose to feature this replay today. He does get Pavane here as Dragon Princes charge on into those Chaos Knights. Other Dragon Princes, though, getting some nice hit-and-run charges in the front line. An interesting kind of rear charge situation here with these Furies. They're going to charge into the Chaos Warriors and Chosen here even. Where, yeah, Expert Charge Defense does prevent that charge bonus from going off. And then the Furies actually come in for a rear charge. This is certainly an interesting choice, especially with the Silver Helms able to just immediately wallop them on a counter charge. They're going to take a lot of shock damage there. I don't know about that, you know, in terms of value play, but it does equalize the fight significantly. You can see the Swordmasters did actually take quite a bit of damage from that, so, you know, value-wise, arguably not the worst. The other Fury here does get taken out pretty quickly as well, still quite squishy. Melkoth Mystifying Miasma on those Chaos Knights as well, and the Dragon Princes, the Archer Fire and everything else able to overwhelm. Herald of Slaanesh pops Locus of Grace, pulls up the Fury Summon to try and protect herself and fight back against the Great Eagles. But this flank engagement going so poorly for Slaanesh is definitely turning the tide against them. Slaanesh's build is pretty thin, and this is again why, like, if Hell Scourges were a little bit better, it would help in a situation like this just to be able to take some additional mobility. I don't know, maybe it would be good to have some Javelins as well. But Javelins don't really do a lot to a lot of these armored units. Yes, they have magic damage, but not the best AP against something like Dragon Princess. I don't know. Maybe they would contribute something, but Pavane also is going to be absolutely nasty, and one of the key tools for Slaanesh to be successful. You can see them drawing in Reaver Archers there. It's their only way really to fight the Reaver Archers, having not brought any ranged units, and not a ton of fast attack units, especially for Slaanesh. But Knights trying to rally here and get to the Herald, who is just feasting on value right now. Getting some really nice damage on the Archmage of Shadows. She actually gets fully routed here, just based on the damage done, yeah, mostly by the Archmage there. But Slaanesh starting to have some numbers issues, although they do actually mostly prevail against these Swordmasters. I mean, those Chaos Warriors, yeah, so Chaos Warriors plus Furies still is like less, no, actually it's more, right? Because Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh, rather, reasonably expensive. But yeah, the Swordmasters do end up winning out long term there. The Southern one does get surrounded and dragged down, but I don't know, cost efficiency wise, I think, hindsight 2020, but obviously would have been much better to just keep those Furies close to the caster and then rear charge them into the Dragon Princes once they were committed to the Cav fight on that far side. Use them in support of the Knights rather than engage with the Swordmasters. Honestly, you could have feigned to charge in with the infantry and then just pull back and try and kite the Swordmasters for a minute. Maybe you feed like one Chaos Warrior at a time just to try and delay, but then my thinking with Slaanesh here would be just to try and win the mobility fight, and then, you know, the magic, assuming this caster's alive, Lash should be able to deal with Swordmasters in the late game. especially if the Chosen and Chaos Warriors haven't taken too much damage in the process. Like I said, if they're kind of kiting and sort of feinting, acting like they're going to engage, and then pulling back, pull these Swordmasters out of position. But the Swordmasters do rally a couple of units of them, get themselves together, and push on over here. Going to kind of surround this little pocket of Chosen and Warriors. Be most uncomfortable for Slaanesh, especially as Dragon Princes start to charge in. Nice lash, though, on that blobbed up blob, I guess. 10 out of 10 casting dog. Yeah, get some good damage in there, and the speed also of the Herald, despite the lack of armor, does mean she's gonna, when she's on the move, not really be hit by the Reaver Archers too much. But the Eagle charges in, high charge bonus, 62 charge, not the best weapon strength, but if it can get some good hits in on the Herald, that could significantly impact this balance of power. The Herald's certainly the most threatening piece left on the field. Probably has generated quite a bit of damage value already, especially with that Soul Siphon. A lot of people don't realize, but it's basically like a Mortis effect for units with low leadership, which, you know, High Elves do generally have good leadership, but certainly you'll get some value from it here. You can see some of these units with the pink effects taking over them as they suffer leadership issues, but Herald herself also suffering leadership issues. Not quite demonic instability yet, but getting very, very close. And Chosen continuing to grind it out, but just not enough. Beautiful cycle charge by all hands. Yeah, even the Reavers, well, not quite cycle charging, but still pulling up point blank to shoot some bows right in the back of these handful of Chosen here. And then charging in, maybe. A little bit of a buggy missile interaction there. We do see another Locus of Grace for more melee defense, up to 96 melee defense on those Chosen of Slaanesh. So they'll be holding out for the duration of that effect, no doubt. But, yeah, the Herald here almost gets pulled out of her supporting infantry, chasing that Great Eagle. Dragon Princes charge in. Don't get great contact on her. The biggest thing for the Herald is just to stay saturated in the Slaanesh Chosen so that she doesn't get surrounded by elf models. The problem is that the animations on the Slaanesh steed, or whatever it's called, does kind of jump her up and forward, like out of support range of her own infantry, as you can see here. So far has been able to maintain some contact, hasn't been fully based out. And I'm going to keep my kind of bases up momentarily so you guys can see what I'm talking about here, but it does manage to hold out okay in this end. The key here is Valyrian Reaver Archers just about out of ammunition. Well, I don't know if it's the key, but they have been able to do some pretty good leadership damage and just overall damage with those bows. Yeah, just kidding. Haven't paid for themselves. It's pretty surprising to me, but handful of Swordmasters hanging around. See what the Silver Helms can do. They're going to charge on in, and yeah, here we go. All hands cavalry. Dragon Prince is also charging in. Lack of AP on the Dragon Princes and that a little bit of physical resistance that Chosen have, of course, or all Slaanesh marked units have. Definitely comes into play somewhat, but once the Herald goes, just cascades army losses. So, yeah, unfortunately, I just don't see... I mean, the Chosen end up grinding it out fairly well, but I think there's issues with Slaanesh, certainly, but I don't know. The Hellscourge Warriors are, again, we see they can be very good, can grind it out, certainly, but I don't know. I just feel like there's maybe a little bit of lack of flexibility and killing power. Maybe he was thinking the Furies would do better for him there, over-relying perhaps on their buff. It's definitely possible. I've certainly done something like that before, but yeah, Swordmasters come out looking like aces in the end. And the cavalry also, Silver Helms managed to pay for themselves, which is nice. Dragon Princes also, one of them pays for themselves, so nice cavalry micro there from Yumeis. And yeah, it gets his two single entities horribly killed, but not before the Eagle pays for itself, so I love to see it in this matchup. Nice and cost-effective, not like you need a ton of AP typically. Although, I don't know, somebody like Sigvald might have given this build some problems. I don't really see anything here that can really kill him. Except the Swordmasters in this round certainly would be able to. But yeah, I'm certainly not an expert in Slaanesh by any means, but it definitely seems like they have some things going for them. You know, lore of Slaanesh and the Slaanesh casters we saw there is very good, and especially the cheap Slaanesh casters. Being able to take the Herald is fairly underrated in my opinion. Portal Glyph is just great having, I mean, Furies are even better now, right, because of the summons, so course, Lord of Slaanesh is quite nice. So yeah, the steed, I did get the name right. Soul Siphon, Blissful Rapture, Locust, Pavane, and Lash, something like that. I don't know if I'd really take Acquiescence necessarily, just to try and cut the cost. But I guess with all that, you know, full kit, kind of kitted up, it is pretty expensive. So maybe, you know, maybe you could come in here and cut some certain things. I don't know. Arcane Conduit's one that I often will cut if I need extra funds, but you could get her down below 2,000 for a reasonably solid kit. But it still feels a little bit expensive, perhaps. Azazel, of course, is very good if you have the micro to pull him off, and definitely gives you a powerful flying piece. Of course, the Chaos Knights are also quite decent. But yeah, like the Devoted Marauder is also kind of getting gutted. I mean, they could maybe have like a small amount of their power restored. Basically, just help these guys buff them out just slightly, and buff the Hellstriders just slightly. Again, not nearly to what they were before when Slaanesh was S tier, but maybe like, you know, meet them halfway, or maybe a quarter of the way back towards that previous power level, just so that these areas of the roster are not so deficient. Because like there, right, if Coops felt comfortable cutting to the Chaos Warriors, just go a little bit wider maybe, to be able to kind of get some support in some different areas. It just seemed like he often ran out of steam in different engagements there, and part of that's due to just a lack of units on the field, I feel like. I don't know. You guys can correct me if you disagree in the comments, and certainly I welcome the discussion. But it's definitely interesting. You know, I guess maybe I should deep dive on Slaanesh myself and really see what they need to improve. But another thing, too, is just chariots not being great. I mean, Slaanesh has a little bit of a chariot focus, you might even say. The single entity one is good. This one here, the Exalted Secret Chariot, but like the Chaos Chariots, I guess I haven't really tried them recently, but last time I tried them and the Secret Chariots both just feel pretty limp. The Hellflayers as well, pretty disappointing, to be honest, all of them, in my experience. The characters, like the Allures, or even the Herald herself on the Exalted Secret Chariot, I mean, there's a lot going for it, right? You've got Perfect Vigor, super high charge, poison, magic damage, which I guess she has on the steed also, or on any mount, to be honest. But yeah, devastating flanker. There's a lot going for you here, but it is also, again, reasonably expensive, although not that much more than the steed of Slaanesh, especially considering it's an extra 1,500 HP and you know, extra armor as well. It does make her a much bigger target, but yeah, this is probably the one good chariot. Most of the rest of the chariots, even like the Chaos Lord of Slaanesh on a Chaos Chariot, pretty lame. Hopefully, Slaanesh gets a Monogods DLC where they get like their whatever the booby snakes. I forget what they're called. They have a like monstrous type mount that's currently missing from the game, a la Rot Beasts or Juggernauts. Once that's added, that will maybe help to a degree. Hard to say, but yeah, looking for a DLC and maybe just some small balance tweaks helps Slaanesh out, and definitely need to play them also more myself and kind of see how some of the changes affected them, if at all. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Be sure to check out the links for the tournaments as well if you're interested in that sort of thing. Thank you once again for watching. We'll see you next time.